we did it bottom up with people wanting to live there. We first looked for people to live there before starting making a plan, and the starting of planning was going slow. It meant for 1 year and live there themselves, so they could not sell just after realizing the project. Together with the group, we made this program into the basic intervention, and it was very important to do this together and join in the project with one construction firm and one architect, that was us, to make this economically and affordable. The woman you saw in the movie who used to live there and joined the project, she was very afraid when we started, because she thought, okay, I can never buy my own house. Yes, she's been renting all her life. But we made calculations, and we could, it turned out to be very economic because of the investments. We calculated 1,100 euros a square meter. It turned out to be possible. We realized this, and even to a higher level than we planned when we started. This made it possible for her to get a loan, and the whole group agreed together with one bank to offer the loans for everyone for a special rate. So for her it was even cheaper. It turned out to be cheaper than the rent she was paying before. To make it more interesting, we said, okay, there's a level we have to reach for everyone, so it's possible to live there and to make it your own home very cheap, but you can add to it by finishing it yourself and adding more installations or more details, better finishing. Thank you.
Are there any more questions? I'd like to ask one of Ineke, actually, which is, yesterday, Ineke, you were visiting a few estates in London, and were there similarities with the places you've seen in Rotterdam? Do you think the same approach could work here?
Well, luckily there are always similarities in construction, but every location is different, and you have to always look around and look into the environment. The constructions we saw yesterday were much better quality. The buildings are constructed different from the ones I showed you. The main construction is concrete, opposed to the buildings in Rotterdam we knew are from before the war, and mainly wood and stone constructions. Makes it different, but the chances of the concrete constructions, I think, are quite good. And you could think of additions even on the roof or on the facades to enlarge space or enlarge creativity for future houses. I think that's one of the most attractive of these schemes.
Amount of homes from empty property can generate far more in the way of rewards than it would cost to employ an empty property officer. I think there's a very strong argument there that the rewards are there, and the rewards can be used to actually generate even more income. So income for the local authority and resources, but also a way of bringing homes like this back into use, which until recently seemed as if they were not viable at all. Gira, no doubt, will be talking
into creative projects in the area. So what did that inward investment look like in the end? Well, the first thing was not a zero cost to Harker, but actually, I think it was mentioned earlier by other speakers, was actually a direct saving to Harker. I mean, a lot of these flats were costing between £2,000 and £4,000 a year just to keep empty. So by putting this in there was immediate saving back to Harker and back to the local residents. Then 25% of the rental income that came from those properties, we put into something called an arts chest. and within the first year this amounted to about £56,000 worth of seed funding. And the fantastic thing about that is it's not like a grant fund you get once and have to reapply for. It's there for the whole life of the property. The next bit of investment was the bit that we couldn't control, but was governed, I think, by the selection process, and that was the artists themselves and the activity that they, as a group and a community of people, would get involved in. They joined residence boards, and they set up their own different activities. When the scheme started in 2008, we were given just 10 properties in 3 locations. Within a very short space of time, they multiplied to around 100 properties. And in the first 2 years, what we found, thank you, and within the first 2 years, but not go faster by. In the first 2 years, over 50 projects came out of the artist community. That's not projects that we were involved with, and these are just the projects we were able to monitor. They got involved in bulb planting, improving common areas, being part of neighbourhood watch schemes, setting up their own exhibitions and events. But made a big impact and difference to a lot of those local residents and communities who had been living in quite sort of like feudal sort of situations for quite a long time. Schemes that we incepted through the Arts Fund were things like the Bengali Mothers Printing Group. This was a small group of about 8 hard-to-reach local women who came together and started a printing project that translated onto soft furnishings and fabrics, and then started to sell through the local community. That's now grown, and 6 of those women are now being trained to be workshop leaders and run their own projects throughout the area. And the income that they generate through selling their soft furnishings go back into running the workshops. We're also working with local youth.
Martin Clements. This is more of a plea than just simply a question. I guess we've got to applaud the present government for making the empty homes bonus available and also the 100 million affordable homes money. I've got to say, as an old cynic, a lot of the effort will be put into the easy fixes and the properties that are clearly able to be converted to affordable homes. There's going to be an enormous number of properties which would never quite become affordable homes, which are some of the worst empty properties in our boroughs, for which we are not going to be able to get funding. But the plea is, would the government think about making additional money available at some point for truly bad empty properties that won't make affordable housing and can't be the quick fixes that everybody will look for to get the empty homes bonus? Thank you.
Andrew, Joe, to respond?
Well, just to make it quite clear, the new homes bonus applies to any home brought into use, not just affordable homes. If it's an affordable home, there is actually an additional premium which is paid on the new homes bonus, an extra £350. So there is an extra reward for affordable homes, but the figures I was quoting was for every home. I take your point about the investment of the 100 million, but from the central government policy view, our viewpoint is that if we're providing accommodation which is, if you like, in the commercial retail housing market, then it is for the commercial retail housing market to provide the extra amount. Where we're delivering homes for those who are unable to get onto the private housing market, who need social housing, that is where government investment has to be concentrated. So the new homes bonus is available for every kind of home brought into use, but the money from the £100 million is earmarked for social and affordable housing. That's quite correct.